Okay, I am making this video for the umpteenth time. I'll tell you quickly the problem and the solution, and then you can carry on and watch me working out if you want. The problem started because the heating wasn't switching off. It wasn't switching off when the room was up to temperature or when the hot water was up to temperature. And I wondered why, and I traced it back to this motorised valve. This one is made by ACL, but I understand they're now made by Drayton, and if you have a look, you can see the similarity. So this applies to the Drayton, I am sure, but I am not an expert, so you have to do your own research. I am just trying to stimulate thought here. So anyway, what was happening, what I noticed was that this little indicator was sticking about halfway along. And what other videos haven't explained is that in here there's a micro switch. And the micro switch triggers the boiler and this pump, and the lever being halfway down, it's left it triggered. So basically what happens is the temperature drops and this valve opens, and that lever, that indicator, goes up there to B. Okay, and then it's on, everything's all very nice. And then when it switches off again, that is supposed to come back here, and the micro switch then switches off the boiler. And that's not what was happening. So my boiler and this pump were running all the time. So I've sorted it out now. And the conclusion is, as I say at the end, just buy a new pump, because it's only about 50 or 60 quid. And by the time you've messed about, you might just as well have had a new pump. Several reasons, apart from the messing around. There's a screw should be in there, and that goes in, on this one, it goes in horizontally. On later ones I've seen, it goes in vertically, and there's a bit more on the moulding here, which means that this design is slightly different. So watch out for that. And the other thing is that to take this off, you have to literally take it all to pieces, and there's two screws holding the last piece onto the pump. Well, on the latest ones, I understand there's a quick release lever underneath, a plastic affair, and you push the lever and the whole thing just comes off in your hand. So that might not be compatible with one of these, for instance. So again, something to look out for. So basically my conclusion is that you might just as well buy another one. Now, what I've done is I have been chasing my tail with this, because first of all, I had a look under here and there was a broken piece of plastic, a broken plastic arm. And you think, oh, that's what's causing it. It's logical, that's what was causing it. So I repaired that. Then I found a broken spring at the same time, and you think, oh, well, okay, it was the broken spring or the plastic arm or both. So I repaired both of them, and it still didn't do it. So I replaced the motor, the synchro motor, whatever it's called. I replaced that. That was 25 quid, and it still didn't do it. So what I ended up doing is I suspected that this was buckling with the heat, the whole plastic affair. So what I've ended up doing, and I've done it now, it's been working for a couple of days, is I've took this off. Now, at the back here, I'll show you, there's two lugs. Hang on. One there and one the other side. You can see that. And this cover is supposed to clip underneath those. It's supposed to clip underneath, let me show you. It's very difficult, like that. And then come down, and you push it down there and put the screw in there. You see that? Let's get it focused. There, the screw goes in there. So again, you lever it down, you stick it under those lugs at the back, pull it down and put that screw in. But I found that when I did that, it was sticking again. So like I say, I suspected it was twisted. So what I've done is I've actually cut off the pieces at the back, the two pieces at the back of this cover, which actually fit under those lugs. So now it just slides over and goes down like that. Now, if I see a need to, I could put a tie wrap there. There's room underneath. I could put a couple of tie wraps to tie wrap that down. But I'm leaving it for a few days just to make sure that it is working. And so far, as I say, it's switched on and off a few times now, and that's fixed. But it's cost me 25 quid. So it's up to you. And if you want to buy another one, buy the whole thing. But check out, like I say, this different design. So check it out here and check out the quick release business. Okay? So I hope that helps somebody. Now you can carry on and watch the rest and see my stupid messing about, if you like. But basically what seems to be missing from other videos is a mention of this micro switch, which is in the motorized valve. And it's this micro switch which switches the boiler on and off. And in this particular case, I'm going to move now, it's triggered by this plastic piece. There you go. This plastic arm swings with the valve actuator, which is this bit. And this piece has the, there you go, that actually has the, the elongated hole in it to actuate the valve. And it also has the springs connected to it. And them springs are going to be a devil to get back on, I know. And that sits on top of this plastic piece. Well, you can see there's a piece there to hold it, and this piece is broken off. So there. So what was happening was that it was opening the valve that way. I think it opened the valve that way. And then as it closed it, this would move and the plastic thing stayed where it was with the micro switch still activated. And it's the micro switch that was keeping the heating switched on. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to glue that back on there, and then I'm also going to glue something on the outside of it to strengthen it, because I don't think that glue bond won't be enough. So I'm going to double it up and make it stronger and then fit it back on. And I'll report back here immediately whether it worked or not. If it didn't work, I won't be finishing this video. Nothing straightforward, is it? Look, it's in the airing cupboard, right next to the tank. Oh, excuse the wobbly camera. Right, this is my setup. There's not much room in here at all. But just as a point of order, if you do have one of these things, look, there's a spring there. Let me move that out of the way. You see that screw there? And there's another one in here. Where is it? There. And they, I think, are the two screws that mount it onto the pump body. But to get to those two screws, you've got to strip all this off and probably take this little board off as well. So it's not like the Honeywell ones, which seem to come apart quite easily. So if you need to strip it, you're in trouble. What I've got to do now is put this back together and get those two springs on, which is going to be a bit of a devil. Right, here's the repair I've done. You can see I've stuck that little bit back on, and then I've stuck another piece of plastic on the outside, used Araldite. So now I'm going to put that back on, and there's my kit I've got. There's the other little plate. I'm going to use these to try and get them two springs on. So despite what I said, that repair did fail. So what I've done is I've gone back to the drawing board, I've stuck it back on, but this time I've used a steel U-shape to reinforce the whole thing. So it will never give way now. So here we are then, and it seems to be working perfectly now. So here's the conclusion. What you don't know so far. I fitted a new motor, and when I tightened the screws up, it still didn't work. And what I had to do was to slacken the screws off slightly, and then it worked perfectly. So my conclusion after all this work is that the body of this pump has actually distorted, and I've had to compensate by slackening off the screws slightly. They are tight enough to hold it together, but I've used a bit of thread lock to get the right setting. So I've had to play around with it. So the conclusion is, just change the whole bloody pump and don't mess about. It's cost me 24 quid for the motor from Screwfix. Could have got it cheaper somewhere else, I think. And all the messing about, I don't mind the messing about because I've got nothing else to do and it's mechanical, and it was a bit of a a challenge. But to be honest, overall, just get a new pump. It was, like I say, 24 quid. A new pump's only about 50 or 60. I know you might have to get a plumber to fit it, but it's a long-term thing, isn't it? It's 20 odd years. This one's been in here about 20 years, so over 20 years, it's not a bad investment.